We hope you enjoy our service and also look forward to seeing you more regularly in Schell. We will be letting you know in the next Kehillah the information about how we will be opening up. And yes, Tim, I will be sending it to you tomorrow. On YouTube, please feel free to leave your New Year's greetings on the chat, and the rest of you suitably distanced can chat with each other in Schell after the service. If you do not have one of our green masarim at home, you are able to follow the service on online. The work is actually we've put it onto our e-zine, but for those of you who haven't had an e-zine from us, it's www.tiny.ws/book. It's all lowercase, and that way you can find and follow the service. The Rabbi will be giving you alternative page numbers. And thank you, Rabbi. It was a massive job to get them correlated, I'm sure, because it was very hard to find your way otherwise. Now we have a big welcome. We actually have the benefit of 3 rabbis here this evening. Rabbi Adrian, our emeritus rabbi, Rabbi Tony, and for those of you who were around in the 1980s, delighted to welcome Rabbi Hillel Avidan and his wife as well, who will be with us for the duration of the services. As I said, Yom Kippur, as you know, requires a lot of standing. It is not a requirement. Your voices and your thoughts will go where they should go, whether or not you're standing. If you feel that you need to sit, please sit. Nobody is going to question you. Just make yourselves comfortable so that you can have the kavanah and concentrate on the service. Finally, please switch off your mobile phones. Thank you. I can see the hands going into the bags as we speak. In a moment, we'll invite Mrs. Avidan, Ruth, to light the candles, and then after that, we will be having our Kol Nidre prayer, where we invite people, usually a person, to hold the scroll whilst the Kol Nidre prayer is sung. This year, we're not specifically honouring the person, except in one case, I'll come to that at the end, but the group. We've been extremely lucky. Our school visits team has done a magnificent job in making a video which enables them to continue to do the work that they are doing online, and the schools and, in fact, Wandsworth Council think it's the most fabulous thing, and those of us that have seen it would agree. It really explains our synagogue and ourselves, and they've worked really hard to maintain that contact. We have up to 90 children a week when there isn't COVID coming into the synagogue, and they really deserve to be acknowledged. Our Cultural Events and Activities Committee bloomed during lockdown and still does, and we are very grateful to the variety of events that they put on for us. Getting to know you, which is a weekday thing, evening events as well. Again, it's in Kehillah, do follow it. When the COVID struck us and we found that we had to shut down, it took just about 2 or 3 weeks before Cheder managed to resume online. The teachers have worked magnificently to provide the best possible teaching, keeping the children in touch with their Jewish roots, despite the fact that as a community we are well spread out. And to that end, we are honouring the Cheder. It's very difficult to talk about the work of the care group and the people who take part in it, and our care worker Sarah, and indeed our Rabbi, who has proved himself to be a stalwart behind the scenes, picking up the really important pieces that rabbis need to pick up. We don't know what the work is that they've done, but everybody who has needed their help has had nothing but praise that I've heard of. The problem is, of course, that people have to, well, not a problem, people's confidentiality is well guarded. So for that reason, we don't know what they do. And that enables any of us who need their assistance to actually ask for it. And I think that's as far as we should go. Finally, our council. Despite the pandemic, we have kept that going. We wouldn't all be here unless we had something that was assisting us in a mechanism for all of you to be represented. And particularly, I will name one name this time, which is Rob, who has, as chair, stepped up and deserves to be noted for his persistence in keeping us all together and putting up with us as well. So that's why we will have Rob as well, representing the council, but also himself. So thank you, Rabbi. We now invite Lynn Sidkin to read our opening meditation.
Thank you. The reading by Vivian G. Simmons can be found in your Mahzor at the bottom of page 792. Yom Kippur is one of the most universal of our holy days. This means that in essence, not in form, it concerns all men. There is not a righteous man upon earth who doeth good and sinneth not, said Ecclesiastes. That is to say, the problems of sin and forgiveness are human problems. All religions have to solve them in their own way. The Jewish Day of Atonement is unique in the manner of its observance, and its appeal finds a response in every truly Jewish heart. We are taught in our religious life to balance emotion with reason. Both have their place. On Yom Kippur, both the appeal and the response are far more to the heart than to the mind. We Jews are, as Moses called our forefathers, let us confess it, a stiff-necked people. On the Day of Atonement, our arrogance, our self-will, our sense of independence, our worldliness drop from us like a garment. In the solemn thought of the great poet Gabirol, each Israelite is pictured as standing before God on this day. I am bare and destitute of good works, and thy righteousness alone is my covering. Thus does the Jew face himself and his God on Yom Kippur with humility, yet with confidence and hope. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lynn. And I have now the really great privilege to invite Ruth Avidan to join me here on the bima and to light for us the festival lights, and you can take off your mask. And for those of you who are able to, please rise. We are on page 674 for the bracha, followed by the Shehechianu. Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. Amen.
And now we have a full bimha with social distancing as we prepare ourselves for the Kol Nidre. And in your prayer books, you can turn to page 272. And please, can I also have Rob, Julia, Michael, and I myself will also join you in carrying one of the scrolls. בישיבה של מעלה ובישיבה של מטה על דעת המקום ועל דעת הקהל אנו מתירים להתפלל עם העבריינים. By the authority of the court on high, and with the consent of the court below, with the consent of God and with the consent of this congregation, we are permitted to pray with each other who have sinned. ונזלח לכל עדת בני ישראל ולגר הגר בתוכם, כי לכל העם בשגגה. May all the people of Israel be forgiven, including all the strangers who live among them, for all the people are at fault. You may be seated. מה נשנתה הלילה הזה מכל הלילות? No, I have not mixed the festival. I know which day we have today. But let me ask the question once again. Why is tonight so different from all other nights? On all other festivals we come in joy. And tonight, the climax of the Yamim Noraim, our days of awe, we come in fear and nervousness. On all other festivals, we come together as families, as community. Tonight, we come singly, as individuals, one and one and one and one, to stand singly before the judge of all life. On all other festivals, we bring children to share with them the stories, the history, and the experience of our people. Tonight, there aren't many children here. This isn't for children. This is for adults who have lived and struggled and suffered and know what it is or what it feels to fail. Tonight, there is no story. There is no history to this holiday, no moment commemorated or celebrated. Tonight is all here and now. The philosopher Franz Rosenzweig taught that on Yom Kippur we rehearse death. We don't eat. We recite vidui, the confession. We forswear all the pleasures of life. We wear simple clothing, and we stand lonely and naked before the throne of judgment, where, God forbid, your life over tomorrow What would you suddenly realize about yourself tonight? What would you regret, and what would you be proud of? How many dreams have you accomplished, and how many are left unfulfilled? And what are you waiting for? All of what we do on this holiday, the services, the music, the confession, the fasting, all of it has just one purpose: to give us the strength and the courage to open up, to look inside, to find the truth about our lives. Sheb'chol Halelot, on all the other festivals, we ask the questions about matzah and maror, about candles and heroes, but tonight, God asks the questions. And according to the teaching of the Talmud, God has actually 4 questions for us. Kavateitim la Torah, did you set aside time for learning Torah? Is the first one. Torah is not a book, a scroll held in the ark. Torah is a process. Torah is an eternal covenant and an eternal conversation among hundreds of generations of Jewish men and women sharing their perceptions of life's meaning and purpose, of God's presence in their lives, and of what they learned from life. When we study Torah, we join the process, we join the conversations of generations. Here is a way for you becoming part of this conversation. Here is your homework for after Yom Kippur. I want you to write a letter to your children or nephews or nieces, to the child living next door, or a person you took under your wings. Find a quiet moment and tell them what you have learned from life. What has life taught you? What have you learned from your education, from marriage, divorce, from working, from building a home, raising children, from the joys of and the suffering and the struggles of life? I ask you to do this because so many of us forget to articulate these things to the ones following in our path. And God forbid anything should happen to you in the next year, they deserve to know you, to share your deepest thoughts, and to know what you learned from your lifetime. And I ask you to do this because only having written this letter will you understand what I mean by Torah. Only then will you understand why a text is held sacred by generations. Our scriptures, our teachings are the accumulation, the collection of the letters written by our ancestors to us. Here is their wisdom, taught to them by life's joys and struggles, and shared with us out of their love. This is how God communicates with us through the life wisdom and sensitive souls, through their poetry, their stories, their letters. There is no such thing as a Jew. Jews comes with ancestors and descendants and with community. We are one across generations, across oceans. We are one, and that binds us together. And what binds us together is our shared wisdom, our Torah. To learn Torah, to have Torah, to share Torah is to find holiness. So God asked, Kavateitim la Torah, did you find time for Torah? Second question, Asakta bebriya urevaya, did you devote yourself to fill the earth and to multiply? The Talmud doesn't ask, did you love your family? Did you provide for them? Do you have many children? it asks, Asakta, are you part of something bigger? Do you share yourself with others? Is family your preoccupation or your occupation? Do you invest yourself in others? It's a question of setting priorities and of making choices. I remember a beer commercial some years back that peeked into the life of the model family. He is up at 4, checking the Shanghai Gold quote, then spends a 12-hour day as a hard-driving executive, followed by a stimulating game of racquetball at the gym, a few beers with the fellows at the local pub. Then home to a beautiful wife and above-average children standing ready on a perfect trimmed lawn. She rises before dawn to prepare breakfast for her adoring family, does all the homework, then carpools the children to the school, spends her day performing complex brain surgery, picks up the children from school, feeds them, bathes them, packs them off to bed, then changes her clothes and reapplies her makeup to be fresh and ready for a night of dining and dancing with her beaming husband. At home in time to get 2 hours sleep before doing it all again. And over all this exemplary family portrait booms the sippy soundtrack asking, who says you cannot have it all? Who says? Reality says. This ad isn't just selling beer, it is selling a myth. The myth that you can have it all without making choices. We can pursue our careers and have all our dreams, our personal development, our professional fulfillment, our happiness, and at the same time enjoy a happy family life and a partnership without ever facing a conflict, a bumping against the limits on our time or our energy. For a long time, the myth was called quality time. As long as time you spent together was really good time, it didn't matter how much time you spent. But that's a myth. Of course you can have a career and have a wonderful relationship with your partner. Of course you can pursue personal goals, professional goals, and have a lovely family. We all do. But there are always choices, difficult, painful choices to be made every single day. We can, I believe, be good at what we do professionally and be a good partner, but we cannot be great. We can be a good doctor, a good lawyer, a good executive, a good rabbi, but if we choose to be great lawyers, doctors, executive, rabbis, then there is a price we have to pay. And usually our loved ones pay the price too. That is reality talking. That's the choice we must make. 18 months of working from home haven't changed that. We still need to find the right balance between the time we spend in front of our computers and our family and friends. So, asakta bebria urevaya, do you make time for your family, partners, parents, friends? God asks, because in relationship to others, there is holiness. Third question, Nasata be'emunah, did you do business with integrity? This is the most surprising of the questions. We expect questions about Torah. We also expect a question about tzedakah, charity, about ritual, praying, about supporting a community, all important parts of Jewish life. But where is holiness found? In the world of business? What is perhaps the most important section in the Torah? I want to ask you. I think people immediately say Genesis, the Shema, the 10 Commandments we're going to read also tomorrow, the revelation at Mount Sinai. But wait, it is Ki Tetzeh Lemilchama, when you go out to war. When you go out to war against your enemies, and the Lord God delivers them into your power, and you take some of them captive, and you see among the captives a beautiful woman, and you desire her and would have her, you shall first bring her into your house, and she shall cut her hair and her nails, and discard her captive's garb. She shall spend a month time in your house, mourning her father and her mother, and then you may come to her and marry her, and she shall be your wife. And if not, you must release her. Why is this one of the most important sections of the Torah? It is not easy to be a moral hero. It is easy to be a moral hero as a tzaddik in theory. Deep in our hearts, everyone thinks of herself, himself as good, sincere, a well-meaning person. But the real question of morality is what happens in the real world, in the marketplace, at work, in a world of tough competition, of conflict and its passion. So let me rephrase the Torah quote. He sees her on the field of battle. He desires her. He wants her. The lust of passion of battle flowing through his veins, with the rape and looting and wanton actions of violence around him. He wants her. No one would know. No one would care. After all, who is she? A captive, an enemy, the spoil of battle. He wants her. And at that moment, in the most immoral of all circumstances, amid the smoke and scream and confusion of war, the Torah says, stop. You must consider her humanity. You must restore her dignity. You must allow her to mourn. You must allow her to heal. That, my friends, is the soul of Jewish ethics. In the worst of circumstances, when passion is high and all immoralities would be overlooked, when everything goes, the Torah says, stop. You must respect the humanity of the other. You must preserve the dignity of the other, and more importantly, you must preserve your own. What's at stake is not just the humanity of the other, but yours too. Na'asata be'emunah, were you a mensch, even in the competitive world of business? Were you honest with your customers, fair with your clients, and gracious with competitors? But more, Na'asata be'emunah, God asks, were you faithful to yourself, to your own principles? The last question, Tzipita leYeshua, do you anticipate redemption? Do you have hope? Beautiful Midrash tells the following story. When God set out to create the first human being, God consulted with the angels and confided to them his plan to create humans in the divine image. The angels were outraged. How can something so pure, so precious, and so powerful be entrusted to a creature as evil and deceitful and corrupt as humans? So if humans have the divine image, they reasoned. They will think like God and feel what God feels. They will create as God creates, and finally will grasp eternity and live forever as God lives forever. We cannot let this happen. So they conspired and stole the divine image, and they decided to hide it somewhere where humans would not find it. But where? Let us put it on the top of the highest mountain, one angel suggested. But no, they will one day climb up the mountain and find it. So let us put it in the bottom of the sea, another offered. But no, they will plumb those depths one day, and they will find it. All angels offered suggestions, but each was rejected. And then the cleverest of all angels stepped forward. No, not at the top of the mountain or the bottom of the sea. Let us place it where humans will never go to look for it. Let us place it within their heart and within their soul. They will never find it there. And so the angels hid the precious divine image within the heart of every single human, where it lies hidden to this day. Holiness is not in heaven, as our Torah teaches it. It is not on the top of mountains or the bottom of the sea. It is here in our hearts, in the way we live. So this Yom Tov, sit in shul in front of Zoom or YouTube, take perhaps a walk after the service, sit beneath a tree, look within you and find the holiness that has been planted there. Use the divinity in you to create, repair, and grow the good in you and around you. Tzipita Leshua, do you anticipate redemption? Do you have hope? My hope, my anticipation of a world redeemed is that we all will find the right words to answer God's call tonight, tomorrow, and this year. Ma nishnata halayla hazeh? Why is tonight different from all other nights? Because tonight God asked the question. Gema Chatimah Tovah. And so we'll now turn back to our Machzorim, and we're going to page 280. 280 and online on page 26, and our choir will lead us in the opening song for the Aravit service.
Show us the
As a father is tender to his children, so the Lord is tender to those who fear him. For it is he who knows our nature, remembers that we are dust. Frail man, his days are like the grass, his blossoms are like the flowers in the field. But the breeze passes over it, and it is gone, and its place knows it no more. But the love of the Lord lasts forever and ever for those who fear him, and his loyalty to his children's children, of those who keep his covenant, bearing his precept in their mind to do them. The Lord has set firm his throne in heaven, and his kingdom rules over all. Bless the Lord, his messengers, the mighty in strength, who perform his word, who obey the voice of his command. Baruch hu Adonai kol tzva'av, meshartav osei retzono. Baruch hu Adonai kol ma'asav, v'chol mekomod memshalto. Baruchi nafshi et Adonai. We continue with the reading on page 693, 694. I suggest that you leave your fingers also in that part of the service. Becky.
The deed is the test, the trial, and the risk. What we perform may seem slight, but in the aftermath is immense. An individual's misdeed can be the beginning of a nation's disaster. The sun goes down, but the deeds go on. Darkness is over all we have done. If man were able to survey at a glance all he has done in the course of his life, what would he or she feel? He would be terrified at the extent of his own power. To bind all we have done to our conscience, to our mind, would be like trying to tie a torrent to a reed. Even a single deed generates an endless set of effects, initiating more than the most powerful man is able to master or predict. A single deed may place the lives of countless men in the chains of its unpredictable effects. All we own is a passing intention, but what comes about will outlive and surpass our power. Gazing soberly at the world, man is often overcome with fear of action, a fear that, without knowledge of God's ways, turns to despair.
Thank you very much. We'll return to page 284. And if you're able to, please rise as we will shortly call to prayer. והוא רחום יכפר עוון ולא ישחית והרבה להשיב אפו ולא יאיר כל חמתו. אדוני הושיע, המלך יעננו ביום קורנו. מערכו את אדוני המבורך.
Baruch Adonai המבורך לעולם ועד.
Please be seated. In the online Siddurim, we're on page 36, and still on page 284 in our regular Machzorim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidbaro ma'ariv aravim. בחוכמה פותח שערים ובתבונה משנה עתים ומחליב את הזמנים ומסדר את הכוכבים במשמרותיהם ברקיע כרצונו. בורא יום ולילה וגואל אור מפני חושך וחושך מפני אור. המעביר יום ומביא לילה ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה, אדוני צבאות שמו. ברוך אתה אדוני המעריב ערבים.
Adonai
ata Adonai ohev et amo Yisrael. How beautiful it is to hear all your voices, to be in a congregation where we together bear now witness to the oneness of the eternal. We're on page 38, online 286. For the Shema, we will hear first our choir or the quartet singing for us, and then Maya Hours will lead us in the reading of the Shema.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם בלבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשובך ובקומך, וקשרתם להיות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך.
Have a short moment for our private prayers, and our Machzorim suggest us alternative readings, page 288 and 289, and then Maya will lead us in a short moment with a third reading for the Shema.
ויאמר אדוני אל משה לאמור, דבר אל בני ישראל ואמרת עליכם, ועשו לכם ציצית על כנפי בגדיכם לדורתם, ונתנו על ציצית הכנף פתיל תכלת, והיה לכם לציצית יוריתם אותו, וזכרתם את כל מצוות אדוני, ועשיתם אותם, ולא תתרו אחרי לבבכם ואחרי עיניכם, אשר אתם זונים אחריכם. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים, אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Thank you. עושי גדולות עד אין חקר ונבלעות עד אין מספר, וראו בניו גבורתו שבחו והודו לשמו ומלכותו ברצון קיבלו עליהם. משה ובני ישראל לך ענו שירה בשמחה רבה ואמרו כולם בזכותך, אדוני אלוהינו, ראו בניך על הים, יחד כולם הודו והמליכו ואמרו, ונאמר, כי פדה אדוני את יעקב, וגואלו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני, גאל ישראל. We're page 292, on line 46 for Hashkivenu. ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך, ברוך אתה אדוני הפורס סוכת שלום, עלינו ועל עמו ישראל, על כל העולם. We now prepare ourselves for the Amidah. In our prayer books we'll begin the Amidah on page 292 and online on page 50, and if you are able to, please rise.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואלוהי אמותינו, אלוהי אברהם, אלוהי שרה, אלוהי יצחק ואלוהי רבקה, אלוהי יעקב ואלוהי רחל ואלוהי לאה, האל הגדול, הגיבור הנורא, אל עליון, גומר חסדים טובים, קונה הכל, וזוכה חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גואל לבני בניהם למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומשיח ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם פוקד שרה.
אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיה מתים אתה רב להושיע. מי כמוך אב הרחמים, זוכר יצוריו לחיים ברחמים, who is like you, Father of mercies, recalling God's creatures to life and mercy. You are faithful to renew life beyond death. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי המתים. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלע.
קדוש, 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוך הארץ כבודו.
ובכן תן פחדך אדוני אלוהינו על כל מעשיך ואימתך על כל מה שבראת, ויראוך כל המעשים וישתחוו לפניך כל הברואים, ויעשו כולם אגודה אחת לעשות רצונך בלבב שלם, כמו שידענו אדוני אלוהינו שהשלטון לפניך עוז בידיך וגבורה בימינך, ושמך נורא על כל מה שבראת. Therefore, may the honor of your people be seen and the glory of those who fear you alone. Let hope come to those who seek you and confidence to those who wait for you. Bring happiness to your land and joy to your city. May the work of redemption begun with David flourish in you, and may the light of the Messianic kingdom shine out soon in your days. Therefore, The just will see it and be glad. The honest rejoice, and the faithful break into song. For the mouth of evil will be shut, and the wickedness vanish like smoke, when you sweep away the rule of arrogance from the earth. ותמלוך אתה אדוני לבדך על כל מעשיך בהר ציון משכן כבודך ובירושלים עיר קודשך ככתוב בדברי קודשך.
ימלוך אדוני לעולם אלוהי ציון לדור ודור הללויה.
קדוש אתה ונורא שמך ואין אלוה מלבעדך, ככתוב ויגבע אדוני צבאות במשפט, והאל הקדוש נקדש בצדקה.
ברוך אתה אדוני המלך הקדוש.
אתה וחתנו מכל העמים, אהבת אותנו ורצית בנו, ורוממתנו מכל הלשונות, וקידשתנו במצוותיך, וקרבתנו מלכנו לעבודתך. בשמך הגדול והקדוש עלינו קראת, ותיתן לנו אדוני אלוהינו באהבה את יום הכיפורים הזה, את יום סליחת העוון הזה, את יום מקרא קודש הזה, למחילה ולסליחה ולכפרה, ולמחול בו את כל עוונותינו, מקרא קודש זכר ליציאת מצרים. אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואמותינו, מחל עוונותינו ביום הכיפורים הזה, מחה והאבד פשענו וחטאותינו מנגד עיניך. כאמור אנוכי הוא מוחה פשעיך למעני, וחטאותיך לא אזכור. ונאמר מחיתי כאף פשעיך וכענן חטאותיך, שובה אלי כי גאלתיך. ונאמר כי ביום הזה יכפר עליכם לטהר אתכם מכל חטאותיכם, לבני אדוני תטהרו. We're on the bottom of page 296 on line 57. אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואמותינו, יעלה ויבוא, יגיע ויראה, זיכרוננו ופקדוננו וזיכרון אבותינו ואמותינו, וזיכרון משיח בן דוד עבדך, וזיכרון ירושלים עיר קודשך, וזיכרון כל עמך בית ישראל לפניך, לבלטה ולטובה, לחן ולחסד ולרחמים, ביום הכיפורים הזה, לרחם בו עלינו ולהושיענו. זוכנו אדוני אלוהינו בו לטובה, ובוגדנו בו לברכה, והושיענו בו לחיים טובים. ובדבר ישועה ורחמים חוס וחוננו, כי אליך עינינו, כי אל מלך חנון ורחום אתה. Our God and God of our ancestors, reign over all the world in glory, supreme in splendor over all the earth. Shine out in the beauty and majesty of your might over all who dwell on earth. Then every creature will know that you are its creator, and all your handiwork realize that you are its maker. May everything that has life declare that the God of Israel reigns, and that God's kingdom governs all. אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואמותינו, קדשנו במצוותיך ותן חלקנו בתורתך, זרענו מטובך ושמחנו בשועתך, וטהר ליבנו לעובדך באמת, כי אתה אלוהים אמת, ודברך אמת קיים לעד. ברוך אתה אדוני מלך מוחל וסולח לעוונותינו ולעוונות עמו בית ישראל, ומעביר אשמותינו בכל שנה ושנה. מלך על כל הארץ, מקדש ישראל, מלך על כל הארץ, מקדש ישראל, מלך על כל הארץ, מקדש ישראל, מלך על כל הארץ, מקדש ישראל. ביום הכיפורים רצה אדוני אלוהינו בעמך ישראל, ותפילתם שאה, וברחמך הרבים תחפוץ בנו, ותשרה שכינתך על ציון, ותחזינה עינינו בתשובך לציון ברחמים. ברוך אתה אדוני המחזיר שכינתו לציון. מודים אנחנו לך. We declare with gratitude that you are our God and the God of our fathers forever. You are our rock, the rock of our life, and the shield that saves us. In every generation we thank you and recount your praise for our lives held in your hand, for our souls that are in your care, and for the signs of your presence that are with us every day. At every moment, at evening, morning, and noon, we experience your wonders and your goodness. You are goodness itself, for your mercy has no end. You are mercy itself, for your love has no limit. Forever have we put our hope in you. ועל כולם יתברך ויתרומם ויתנשא תמיד שמך מלכנו לעולם ועד, וכתוב לחיים טובים בכל בני בריתך, וכל החיים יודוך סלע, ויהללו ויברכו את שמך הגדול באמת, האל ישועתנו ועזרתנו סלע. ברוך אתה אדוני הטוב שמך ולך נאה להודות. Shalom Rav. Set true peace upon your people Israel forever, for you are the King, the Lord of all peace, and in your eyes it is good to bless your people Israel at every time and in every hour with your peace. בספר החיים נזכר ונכתב לפניך אנחנו וכל עמך בית ישראל לחיים טובים ולשלום. ברוך אתה אדוני המברך את עמו ישראל בשלום. And please remain standing as we now prepare for the first of the many viduis we will speak throughout Yom Kippur. And Isaac and Ludmila, please open the ark. We're on page 300 and 302. On page 82, online 302, and in my notes the choir will sing now, Our God and God of our fathers, Tavo lefanecha. Nine, 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 Ashamnu, Ashamnu, Bagadnu, Gazalnu, Dibanu Dofi, Dibanu Dofi, Hevinu, Vehirshanu, Zadnu, Hamasnu, Tafalnu Sheker, Nine, 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 Yatsnura, Kizavnu, Lahatsnu, Maratnu, Niatsnu, Saranu, Avinu, Hashanu, Saraharunu, Kishinu Ohev, Rashanu, Shichatnu, Tiavnu, Ta'inu, Titanu, Nine, 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 nine. We turn away from your commandments and good judgment, but it does not help us. Your justice exists, whatever happens, for you work truth, but we bring about evil. We are online, page 83, 305 in our Machzorim. What can we say to you? So distant is the place where you are found. And what can we tell you? Your being is remote as the heavens. Yet you know everything hidden and revealed. You know the mysteries of the universe and the intimate secrets of everyone alive. You probe our body's state. You see into our hearts and mind. Nothing escapes you. Nothing is hidden from your gaze. Yehi ratzon milfanecha Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu shetechaper lanu al kol chatotenu ve'timchal lanu al kol avonotenu ve'tislach lanu al kol peshaenu. You may close the ark and you then may be seated. You may be seated, and Judith will lead us in the general confession together with our choir online. We're on page 90 in our regular Machzorim, still page 304.
For the sin we committed against you through evading and avoiding, because we could not face the truth. For our flight into hypocrisy and deception, because we did not dare to speak it. For the facts we dissembled and all we glossed over, for the excuses we made. for feeding our bodies and starving our souls, for interfering with the souls of others and neglecting their needs, for shifting our responsibilities, for reproaches and recriminations. For our foolishness, our folly and false standards, for seeing these things only in others, never in ourselves, for our complacency which blinds us, and our self-righteousness which lessens us. For calculating kindness and measuring our pity, for charity that is cold and prayers without feeling, for sending in accounts for love. For the appeals that we ignored and the people whom we refused, for the affection which died and our love which became bitter, for the visions that faded, the ideals we neglected, and the opportunities we lost. For the fear of change and renewal and our unbelief, for saying prayers aloud but refusing to listen, for being our own worst enemy.
Adonai, my God and God of my ancestors, Hineni, here I stand before you full of shame and confusion. Because you commanded mercy and love, show me how to change myself so that I can serve you with my whole self and sin no longer. And may the sin I have already committed against you be cancelled by your love and not by severe trials. We have a short moment to conclude the section of the Vidui with our private reflections before we conclude then with Oseh Shalom on page 306 and continue then with the Slichot. turn to the silichot, the poems of pardon, the songs of supplication, the pleas of our ancestors. May the thoughts inside us match the words we speak aloud. And Jeff will lead us in the opening reading on page 308, and online we will then be on page 64, but at the moment 308 in our traditional Masurim.
We are judged every moment of our life by what we have done and what we have left undone. This is the judgment of truth from which we flee, and we put in its place our own judgment, which is partial, or the judgment of the world, which is worthless. If we care for our souls and seek eternity, then now is the time for the judgment of truth we pushed inside. Without it, we cannot go forward. If we reject it, we cannot grow. Today, supported by the community of Israel, accompanied by the confession of our neighbors and the memorials of the honest and the sincere of former times, we can face our destiny and its demands. Living through a lifetime or a century of years does not help us to eternity, for time alone does not enlighten us. One day of insight can carry us forward to that eternal life we seek. Lord, you have given us our chance this day. Let us take it now, for if not now, when?
Thank you. And while most of the prayers we have said this evening are in the plural, to give one another strength in this moment of confession and acknowledging our shortcomings, it doesn't release us really to go into ourselves and to look for the truth in our hearts. And so we give you all a short moment of private readings and soul search, Cheshbon HaNefesh. The texts which you can find in our Sidurim from page 310 to 320 may help you. Online, we're on page 66 to 80. In a short moment, we will resume. But for now, this is your time with God. On page 320, online, page 84, for the confession. על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בטיפשות פה, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך בבלי דעת, על חטא שחטאנו לפניך במעשה ובמתן, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך בחוזק יד, על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בכפת שוחד, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך באונס. For the sins we have committed before you by speaking slander, and for the sins we have committed before you by showing contempt, for the sins we have committed before you by financial greed, and for the sins we have committed before you by tempting others, and for the sins we have committed before you for gossip, and for all the sins we have committed before you by choice. על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בצתי אדריה, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך באימוץ הלב, על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בעיניים חמות, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך בתימהון לבב, על חטא שחטאנו לפניך ביצר הרע, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך בסתר. For the sins we have committed before you by overeating and drinking, for the sins we have committed before you by hurting others, for the sin we have committed before you by rejecting partners and teachers, and for the sin we have committed before you by misusing sex, for the sin we have committed before you by allowing ourselves to be used for evil, by the sins and for all the sins we have committed before you openly. על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בשנאת חינם, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך ברצון עין, על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בתשומת יד, בתשומת יד, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך בקשיות אוהב, על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בבלילות, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך בשוגג. For the sins we have committed before you by fraud and falsehood, and for the sin we have committed before you by perjury, for the sin we have committed before you by despising you, for the sin we have committed before you by denying our religious duty, for the sin we have committed before you for sincere confession of sin, and for all the sins we have committed before you consciously. So please turn to page 326.
Adonai Melech, Adonai Malach, Adonai Yimloch Leolam Vaed.
Before heaven and earth were created,
Adonai Melech,
even before the light of heaven shone,
Adonai Malach,
and when earth is worn out like a garment and the heavens vanish like smoke,
Adonai Yimloch Leolam Vaed. Adonai Melech, Adonai Malach, Adonai Yimloch Leolam Vaed.
even before there were cities and fields,
Adonai Melech,
when God settled God's creatures on earth,
Adonai Malach,
and when God brings us together the whole world over.
Adonai Yimloch Leolam Vaed. Adonai Melech, Adonai Malach, Adonai Yimloch Leolam Vaed.
Ki biyadecha nefesh kol chai v'ruach kol basar ish. In your hands is the soul of every living creature, the spirit of every human being. The soul is yours and the body is your creation. Have pity on your work. The soul is yours and the body is yours. Forgive us for the sake of your name, for you are known as a God of love and mercy. Page 328. O God, teach us your own goodness and mercy. It is written in the Torah, and Adonai came down in a cloud. He stood there with him and proclaimed the name of Adonai. Then Adonai passed before him and proclaimed, Amarenu, we're on page 32979 online. Hear what we say, understand what we cannot express. May the words of our mouth and the meditations of our hearts be acceptable to you, O Adonai, our rock and redeemer. Do not send us away from your nearness to you, and do not take away from us the spirit of your holiness. Do not send us away when we grow old, when our spirit fails. Do not forsake us, Adonai our God. Do not leave us. Be not distant from us. Our hopes rest on you alone, Adonai. Only you can answer us, eternal our God. And so we turn to page 80 online, and in our Machzorim to page 329, and we have Helen Spiro on Zoom. You are muted.
Your ways. Reach out to our minds so that your being fills us with awe. Pierce our hearts so that we love you. Then we shall return to you both in truth and with a perfect heart. For the sake of your great name, forgive and pardon our iniquities, as it is said in your holy writings. For the sake of your name, Lord, forgive our iniquity, for it is great.
Thank you. And so we turn to Avinu Malkeinu in our Machzorim, page 332, 95 in the online Machzorim. And if you are able to, please rise as the ark is also opened by Alyssa and Nancy.
Avinu Malkeinu, Atanu lefanecha. Avinu Malkeinu, ein lanu melech zulatecha. Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Hasenu
You may be seated. I invite our chairman, Rob, to come to the lectern as he has this one, and to share some important words and thoughts.
Good evening. Rabbi Adrian, Emeritus Rabbi Tony, Rabbi Avidan. On behalf of the whole council, may I welcome you all. It is lovely to see so many of you in person sitting here. It also fills me with a lot of joy knowing so many of you are joining with us at home. As many of you know, a lot of time and effort has been put in to make this all possible. The Rabbi and Stella, our Director-in-Chief, with the help from Rachel and the Warden team, have done a superb job in arranging the services. The tech team, made up of Andrew Aritz, Ricky Cousins, Adam Wells, Andy Leake and Michael Conn, have and will be making sure all the services are streamed on YouTube so they can be enjoyed remotely while sitting at home. It has been another extremely challenging year. The pandemic has not gone away. This community has not allowed this to get in the way of synagogue life. As a community, we have so much to be proud of. We have taken great strides, and I would like to take this opportunity to highlight a few. All our services are available online, and thankfully, over the last few months, we've been able to allow some people in the synagogue while still having people to participate remotely. The high holiday services are a great showcase of this, whereby we have 100 people here in what we have tried to ensure is as COVID safe as possible. I'm sorry we could not have allowed more people to be here, but I know you all understand why this is not possible. For the last academic year, the Heder offered an engaging online program for our children. Last Sunday, we started the new academic year back here with in-person lessons. It was so lovely for me, and I know a lot of other parents, to see how happy the kids were to see each other, having not seen each other for over a year, as well as seeing so many new young families joining the play shul. Our school visits team, which has not been able to allow in-person visits for the last year, took the initiative and made use of the camera equipment and made an excellent film which was made available to schools, and the team were able to set up online visits. This has been a huge success and has continued to promote Wimbledon Synagogue in the local community. The care group have once again worked extremely hard over the last year, reaching out to those members who have needed help. Similarly, the cultural events group have laid on a superb and varied program for all of us to enjoy. These are just a few of the good things taking place, and I thank all of you for helping with these and other activities. Before I move on to the Kol Nidre appeal, I would like to say a big thank you to Rabbi Adrian. He and Chaim joined us in November in the middle of lockdown, but this did not stop him working tirelessly to get to know as many of us as possible. I know you will agree that in Rabbi Adrian we found an engaging rabbi worthy of leading this great community in prayer. As chair of the community, it falls to me to nominate the charities for our Kol Nidre appeal. In making my choices, I've decided to choose 3 charities, which I hope you agree share our Jewish values. My first is Leo Beck Education Center in Haifa. The Leo Beck Education Center was established in 1938 as a kindergarten for 30 German Jewish children fleeing pre-war Europe. Today, it is a dynamic and growing education center that includes a preschool, kindergarten, elementary school, junior high school, senior high school, the Schell Avraham Synagogue, the main community and sports center, and 8 satellite centers. The mission of Leo Beck Education Center is to build a pluralistic society in the spirit of progressive Judaism, Zionism, democracy, and shared responsibility. Through excellent formal and informal education and a deep commitment to Tikkun Olam, repair of the world, mutual support and equal opportunity, They empower individuals of all ages and walks of life to fulfill their potential and become agents of social change. The centre is an all-inclusive, pluralistic institution with schools, a community centre, and social outreach programs that serve all Israelis, regardless of religion, culture, and background. They are dedicated to democracy, egalitarianism, and human rights. Everything they do is in the spirit of progressive Judaism, the values of which inspire social change and tikkun olam. At Wimbledon Synagogue, we are thrilled to have found a partner in Israel for our Heder, and we will be starting joint activities with the children at the centre. Planning has already started for a joint Hanukkah celebrations. All donations will be given to the Tikkun Olam and Social Justice Programme. More can be found at their website, which is www.leobeck-haifa.org. The second charity, which is a bit closer to home, is the Nightingale Hammerson. This is an independent charity which has been serving the Jewish community for 180 years. They welcome Jewish men and women over the age of 60 from every part of the community. Only half of the residents are self-funding. For the remainder, each week, Nightingale Hammerson needs to raise £600 per resident to cover the full costs of their care, over and above the fees received from local authorities and families. This year, income has been falling as costs rise sky high, as they try and continue to provide an overall rating of outstanding from the Care Quality Commission. Once again, more info can be found at their website. And thirdly, the Wimbledon and District Synagogue. We are the largest Jewish community south of London. We are fortunate in having a magnificent building, enabling us to provide dignified services, excellent Heder facilities, space for cultural and social activities. We provide the community with a support network to be proud of, giving a lifeline for so many of our vulnerable members and their families. To enable us to provide this, we need your help and ask that you donate what you can and as generously as you can. We shall divide the appeal proceeds equally between the three charities unless you specifically tell us otherwise. And finally, I just want to make you aware of a way we can all donate to the synagogue, which won't cost you a penny. This is called easy fundraising. It is simple and easy to use, and it turns your everyday online shopping into donations to the synagogue at no extra cost to you. It's worth pointing out that I think recently we've raised £1,000 just by that. Details of the website can be found in Kehila or from the office. I wish you all Chatimah Tovah. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Need to connect myself to our many guests also on YouTube, and I want to say that once again it is beautiful to have you here in the congregation, but also to everyone on YouTube. It's wonderful to have you with us. We consider you as really close to our hearts and be with us. We expanded our sanctuary into the virtual, and we know from the past year that this was sometimes even a helpline to some of you, or for many of us, that we could stay connected and that we continue to be one congregation. And we're also very thankful that we have found friends all over the world who join us this evening and who have joined us in the past services and will do so in the future. We are very proud of how we celebrate our tradition and mark our tradition, and also come together in weak moments as in moments of strength. And so I invite you to the concluding part of our service, which you can find on page 332, right at the bottom, the Aleinu, and in our online Sidurim, we're on page 102. And if you're able to, please rise for the Aleinu. והוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו, וגובה מרומים, הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום משבותה אל לבביך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד. Therefore, eternal God, we put our hope in you. Soon let us witness the glory of your power, when the worship of material things shall pass away from the earth, and prejudice and superstition shall at last be cut off, when the world will be set right by the rule of God, and all mankind shall speak out in your name, and all the wicked of the earth shall turn to you. Then all who inhabit this world shall meet in understanding, and shall know that you alone, each one shall submit and pledge themselves to every tongue in your presence, eternal our God. They shall bow down and be humble, honoring the glory of your being. All shall accept the duty of building your kingdom, so that your reign of goodness shall come soon and last forever. For yours alone is the true kingdom, and only the glory of your rule endures forever. So it is written in your Torah. Adonai yimloch leolam va'ed, v'ne'emar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz, vayom hahu, Hiye Adonai echad, u'shemo echad. The Holy Night concludes with memory. Our last thoughts always are of those we have lost. We miss them especially tonight, yearning for their presence at our side. The service we have shared once was theirs. They spoke and sang the ancient words. They prayed, repented, and yearned for better lives as we have done. Flawed in their deeds, imperfect in their faith, they still drew strength from their tradition as we seek fortitude in ours. What was good and beautiful in their lives once gave us joy and now inspires us to reach higher. The knowledge that they loved us deeply brings comfort to our hearts. In remembrance and gratitude, we speak this timeless truth. Zichronam livracha. Their memory is a blessing now and forever. We pray that their goodness will live on in our lives, planting seeds of kindness and hope for generations to come. Our thoughts turn to loved ones whom death has taken from us at this season in years past. Isaac Solomon, father of Nina, Portugal. Our hearts open as well to the wider circles of loss in our community and wherever grief touches the human family. Please join me in the Kaddish reading on page 334. Yit gadal v'yit kadash shomei rabba, me'alma divra chichote, ve'amlich malchote, v'chayechon u'v'yomechon, u'v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala v'zman karif ve'imru amen. Yehei shmei rabba mevarach le'alam u'la'almei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitale v'yithalal shnei d'kodesha berichu. Le'ela le'ela min kol birchata v'shichata tushbechata v'nechamata de'amiran be'alema v'imru amen. יהי שלום הרבה מן שמיה וחיים עלינו והכל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו והכל ישראל והכל יושבי תבל ואמרו אמן. You may close the ark. Thank you. You may be seated. Some short announcements. And
Thank you. Thank you, Adrian. Thank you to Judith. Thank you for our virtual choir. And also our staff, Jackie and Rachel and Francisco, and all the volunteers who prepared the High Holy Days so beautifully for us. It's been a stressful time in the last few weeks, and all the extra work is much appreciated. Thank you to our wardens who have been on Zoom with us as well, our tech team and security team for providing extra support running the services. Tomorrow's Yom Kippur service starts at 10:30. If you have tickets, we're delighted to see you there for Shacharit. All services will be streamed also on YouTube. There will only be one. Yes, it's the same stream as before. There's no need to search for a specific link, just Wimbledon Synagogue. Shabbat Hetziona follows this Friday evening at 7 on Zoom and YouTube, and Saturday here in the shul and on YouTube with a baby blessing for the twins, Gila and Lily. Great-grandmother Josephine Urban will be delighted to be there, I know. And again, starting from this coming Shabbat, there's no need to register. We would very much encourage you to take a lateral flow test before you come, and we'd also be very happy that we would expect you to sanitize your hands and sign in, and also use the app should you wish to do so. But otherwise, it will be business as usual. Do come along 10:30 on Saturday and following Shabbatot. Thank you, Rabbi.
thank you very much. And so, a final prayer. If you are able to, please rise. Infinite source of goodness, help us to see the good in ourselves, in others, and in the world around us. Teach us to cultivate a discerning mind, to know right from wrong, and a listening heart, open to love and forgiveness. Guide us to walk in your ways with integrity, ever faithful to the promise our forebears made. And may your goodness inspire us to do what is just and right. Strengthen us this day. Bless us this day. This day exalt us. Show us kindness this day. Inscribe us this day for a life of goodness. This day hear our cry. Now and always support us with strength of your righteousness. Yevarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. Ye'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichoneka. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lachem shalom. May Adonai bless you and guard you. May Adonai's presence shine onto you and be gracious to you. And may Adonai lift God's face onto you and give you all peace. Shalom. Gma Chatimah Tovah. And we hear our choir for the concluding hymn, Yigdal, on page 336. You may be seated, and then as we ask you, please, when you gather outside, you can have a short moment to mingle, but please not inside the synagogue. Thank you. Gma Chatimah Tovah.
Inside.
Chatimah Tovah.